It's the Wednesday night market at Govindpuri, so we are going to see if we can find a sweater for Rohan, because it's getting a little bit chillier here in Delhi. It's been kind of a mild winter so far, but it's getting a little chillier. And we're also keeping our eyes out for the sparkly sweater vests of Delhi. We see people wearing them, but whenever we try to find places to buy them, we can never find them. So if any viewers have any ideas where we can find the sparkly sweater vests, let us know, because we have tried for 2 years and we've never been able to find them. Say hi.
There's only maybe one size. Namaskar ji. Oh, bada size hai. This is the kind that I like though. I might have to try it on, see if it fits. Your eyes now.
Found 3. Melissa wanted some more colorful options, but she got 2 pretty colorful ones. Now, time for a fashion show. There's this thing behind our house that makes noise all the time. We've always thought it was a cat. Now I'm wondering if it's a bird. So freaking loud. All the time you hear it. Wow, wow. It's gotta be a cat. But it just never stops. It just always keeps going. What is your deal, man? There it is! Our first item up. The black sweater vest. There it is. Sweater number 2. Whoa! Look at this sweater number 2. Look at the buttons. What do you think of the buttons? Do you think the buttons look good? They're a little. It is a little tight, isn't it? What do you have to say about sweater number 2? Sweater vest number 3.
All right, come on, come on.
Numero 3. Oh, there it is. What do you think of this one? Which is your favorite? Which is your favorite? One of the nice things about doing these daily updates would be that there's more interaction. One that I missed during the live Q&A the other day, it was by Gungadin, and this one was more in depth than I would go into in a typical comment that I would answer. So he asked, if you had magical powers and you could flip any concept or thing in India from the Indian way to an American way, what would it be? Also the same thing, but the other way around. For example, let's say you pick which side of the road to drive. You could flip India from driving on the left to driving on the right. I'd flip America's first world problem entitlement attitude with India's jugaad, plucky determination. I'm always amazed to see Indians' ingenuity, and every time I read about worker rights in the States where people want the minimum wage to go up to $15 an hour or something ludicrous, it just makes me want to puke. Because I see people here just continuing to forge through. And when I do see worker rights movements here in India, I'm much more prone to agree with them because they're fighting for actual right. They're fighting for actual rights, necessities, not just privileges and luxuries. Like, I think Americans don't really understand sometimes what is the difference between a luxury, a necessity, a privilege, and a right. And that's, just watch out. The bubble's gonna burst on that one very quickly, because we're starting to have to compete with people around the world who are willing to work for much less, because that's the way the actual real world works, not a subsidized bubble of subsidizing lazy people's work ethic. Sorry, that's my little rant about America. On the other side, I would say if I could flip one thing, okay, this is a generalization, just as my last thing was. Not all Americans are lazy, and I probably have too much of an attitude about the whole worker rights thing. So this is generalization too. I'm not saying America is perfect in this area, either presently or in our history, but I feel that there's a widespread mental block in certain areas of Indian thought among certain groups. And like buyers and sellers sometimes it's the buyer, sometimes it's the seller that will just look at a situation and not admit culpability, not admit that they've done something wrong, or look at something in history and say, stare it, even though it happened, and find up some convoluted way of explaining it, and to not admit any sort of guilt or Shane. Like, nope, that didn't happen. Like, it happened right in front of you. That totally just happened. No, let's talk about something else. And they'll come up with some elaborate fiction of how it got that way, or blame it on someone from another state coming there. And again, that happens in America too. I see it on Facebook all the time. I see it in a lot of political debates. Politicians do this all the time in America. I think it's just politicians everywhere in the world do it. Again, people are people. We find different ways to screw up the same things to varying degrees, I feel like. I had another private message from a viewer about the Interstellar review, and he pointed out that he thinks the reason the characters weren't so richly layered was intentional, to kind of make them seem more everyman, or in the case of Jessica Chastain's character, more every woman, I guess, that any one of us could fill their roles or feel that like we're in their shoes. And he's right that that's a valid way of telling stories. You can think of Neo, you can think of Luke Skywalker. They're kind of blank slates, and they're meant to be placeholders for the viewer. I think there's something to that point, actually. I still think Chastain's character could have been a little more. I think McConaughey's character was great, I felt like. I felt like some of the other characters were great. My main complaint was with Chastain's character. I think she needed a little more fleshing out. See how these things evolve. They won't always be the same way every time. But I read books, and when I find something interesting, I think I'll read it. So I'm reading Jobs' biography, and I thought this one was really kind of good. When Jobs returned from his medical leave, Tim Cook resumed his role as the person who kept the moving parts at Apple tightly meshed and remained unfazed by Jobs' tantrums. Jobs, if you didn't know, Steve Jobs, the Apple dude, while he was still alive, and throughout his entire career, was kind of mean. Actually, he could be very, very mean, very opinionated, very passionate, and he would kind of go off on these tantrums and just reduce people to tears. So this is what Cook said about Jobs. What I learned about Steve was that people mistook some of his comments as ranting or negativism, but it's really just the way he showed passion. So that's how I processed it, and I never took issues personally. And so I think that's really good when you're dealing with someone who's very passionate, to think of it like that. Like there are times that we take things a little too seriously, people who get our feelings hurt easily. And then there are those of us who are very passionate and really just don't think about other people's feelings very much. And we could probably accomplish just as much if we weren't jerks. You do need to be a driven personality, but there is a way to temper that. In news, Krish Ashok's album is out. There's a link in the description. If you're unfamiliar, Krish, is the genius behind the music in that recent Arnab Goswami parody we did, the Auto-Tune the News style parody. So he's done some incredible fusions of East meets West. So I got that linked in the description. Check that out. Awesome, talented musician. All right, that's it for today. Until next time, keep it creative, keep it cross-cultural, keep it constructive. YouTube, a little bit longer on this one. Yeah, let me know what you think about length, how long these should be. I will try to do more of them outside and less editing. I'm sorry, I'm just so used to editing stuff. I will try to do it just in one take so that they'll be sustainable. This will not be sustainable, I can tell you right now. I need to spend more time editing the other stuff. So, but I'm committed to trying this at least for a week, and we'll try to get it, the speed of them quicker, the speed of the production of them quicker. Thank you all for watching, and keep in touch.